making the right choices for New Jersey. Our opponents say we should shortchange our children's health care. They believe our kids should be left to the whims of free markets and HMOs and profiteers. Those are the wrong values for New Jersey. We believe health care is a right, not a privilege. And one of these days, very soon, the Vice President, our President, and Congressman Pallone are going to bring real change to our national health insurance. But before that, we're enrolling over 50,000 more kids and their families right here in New Jersey, particularly moms who are seeking pre- and postnatal care. And remember, when the Bush administration last year tried to knock off 10,000 kids off of New Jersey's family care, do you hear that? 10,000 kids they tried to knock off. You know what we said? We said, no, no. And we even went to court and made a federal case out of it. And you know what happened? We won. We're making the right choices for New Jersey. Our opponents say that we can drill our way to energy independence. Drill, baby, drill may look okay on a bumper sticker, but it's the wrong choice for New Jersey. We New Jerseyans value our clean beaches and shorelines, don't we? We believe we have an obligation to leave our world cleaner and more pristine for future generations. That's why we created that energy master plan that will cut greenhouse gas emissions by over 20% by 2020. That's why New Jersey installed more solar panels in the last 3 years than any state except California. It's about 5 times bigger than us. More than any state. That's why we're leading the charge on offshore wind power, and we're going to work with Delaware. That's why we're creating 20,000 green-collar jobs. That weatherization that the Vice President talked about, we're going to put people to work. 20,000 green-collar jobs right here in the next 15 years. We're making the right choices for New Jersey. We also know we have an affirmative role helping our neighbors weather the global economic crisis. It's not one that was created here in New Jersey. That's why we've held property taxes to the lowest rate of increase in over a decade, expanded the senior freeze, provided more direct property tax relief in 4 years than any governor in New Jersey's history, and we're making the right choices for New Jersey. That's why we're the first state in the nation to pass a comprehensive economic plan. That's why we're putting more than 40,000 people to work on New Jersey's efforts, building highways, bridges, tunnels, and schools. 40,000 good paying jobs, 40,000 union jobs. And that's why we created a mortgage mediation and modification program that the federal government is now emulating. That's why we're increasing funds for food banks, home heating assistance for seniors, and legal services for the financially distressed. And that's why we extended a $3,000 grant for every new job created by a small business in New Jersey, with applications totaling over 20,000 already. And that's why we are, contrary to a lot of the critics, we're improving the tax climate, the regulatory climate for all of New Jersey's businesses. Because we're making the right decisions, New Jersey's home foreclosure rate is half the national one. Our unemployment numbers are way too high, but they're well below the national average. And our family incomes lead the nation. Because we're making the right decisions, New Jersey will emerge from this global crisis sooner and stronger and healthier, and will go forward right. Now, our opponents disagree. Probably heard some of that. They ridicule every action we take. Their idea, however, of an economic stimulus program is a 2-week sales tax holiday. Believe that? Our opponents even said no to President Obama's recovery plan. They said New Jersey should turn down federal dollars. Think about that. Our opponents said no to tax cuts for working families, Joe. They said no to billions of dollars for schools and health care, highway construction, green energy projects, work retraining, college tuition grants, and 100,000 jobs that $787 billion coming out of Washington is helping this state make. Thank you, Joe, and we're with you on it. We believe in that program. Our opponents said no to over $17 billion in federal aid, even though New Jerseyans send more to Washington than we get back. Their judgment reflects the wrong values and the wrong choices. New Jersey voters are a pretty savvy group. They're thoughtful enough, they're savvy enough to distinguish right choices from wrong ones. Our opponents promise the moon. They want to cut government, increase spending, slash taxes, and balance the budget. They've got this so-called secret plan. They won't tell you whose taxes they're going to cut. They're going to check with George Bush about that. They say they'll lay off at least 10,000 public employees, maybe more, trying to take the unemployment rate to about 10% overnight, but they won't say who or when or at what consequence. They won't tell you what services will end or whose teachers or police officer or firefighter will be laid off. They just say we should trust them. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not about to put my trust in the same people who gave us George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, or John Ashcroft. Skyrocketing unemployment, a housing crisis, bank bailout, and a war in Iraq. America doesn't need to be bushwhacked again. New Jersey